Hey everybody! On this episode of Gaming and Collecting, we're once again returning to our anime swap series, this time covering two new shows. My pick was Flying Witch, and Alex's pick was Kaiju No.8. As usual, we're going to go over both shows, kind of give our thoughts on each, and kind of give a little ranking at the end. So, once again, guys, thank you for watching, and on with the show. So, how you been?
Not great. I have a sinus infection, so if I sound congested a little bit, that's why. It's not as much the congestion that's bad, it's more of the pounding head pain. Like
Yep.
when I get out of bed, it just immediately starts throbbing, which is fun. And by fun, I mean terrible. So I went to the doctor yesterday. Um, and I got some medicine, which is helping a lot, but it's giving me some tummy troubles. But I've already had some during this week and it kind of escalated them. So I haven't eaten much this week. I'm having a rough week. But my car is fixed though, Bill. My car's
Oh,
fixed too.
good. You have a bolt now.
Yeah, we both got our tires fixed. Our tires we got new
Replaced.
tires. That's the
Yeah.
word. We replaced our tires the other weekend. Everything with Bill's truck went fine, but my car, they couldn't get one of the lug nuts back on.
So they
And then
just
they
didn't
tried
put
to,
it back on.
they just didn't put it back on. They barely said anything, and we had to go back in there and be like, "Give us the lug nut." And they were like, and our mom was like, "Give me the lug nut." And she got the lug nut because no one
Oh.
messes with her.
I missed this
But
because I was in
yeah,
Costco
no,
probably at that point.
she ended up going back to Costco and being like, "Give me the freaking lug nut," and they gave it to her. And then I'm pretty certain she scolded them too, of like, "I don't care." I think she gave them the "I'm not mad, I'm disappointed," of like, "You shouldn't have lied. You should just give it and be honest up front," which they should have. Like that's bad on them. So note to self: don't get tires done at Costco. But I got it fixed, and they were telling me it was going to cost like $200 if I took it to the dealership to replace it. Guess how much it cost me?
How much?
Like $30.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Not
that's how
only
they
are they
that's how
like,
they have you
yeah, like,
seen the people who go to Costco, Alex?
I'm like, that is so shitty. So I got it fixed, and I have a new place to get oil changes and stuff. So
I mean, there's a
wasn't,
reason why they call it the cult of Costco.
yeah. I mean,
Not as
Costco,
bad as
but
the cult of Walmart. The cult of Walmart is horrifying, but
do you want to do the we will Walmart chant? We are Walmart chant, Bill?
I was fucking there when it happened
I
once.
know, you told me that.
When I was working night shift. Holy fuck. Like I should was supposed to,
We
yeah.
are Walmart.
I guess they thought no one was in the store or something, but like when I was working the
Should have
graveyard
joined
shift,
in. Should have joined in.
I did scream play ball after they were done. I don't think they appreciated it.
You should have said play ball and then grab one of those big bouncy balls all the kids mess with and just chucked it that way.
Is it bad that that's still not the weirdest thing I saw at like Walmart during the graveyard shift?
It's Walmart, so.
I,
How did you answer my math question, by the way?
you sent me a math question.
I did. Remember when I sent you the questions? It was like the square root of blank
Oh, I
divided
think
by blank
I'm pretty sure
times
for
the
those who are
number of
wondering.
cars in a Walmart parking lot. Did you answer it?
No, so for those who are wondering, this is for an episode of Geek Addicts that hasn't come out yet and won't be out for a while.
Wait, it
Alex,
won't?
no,
I
it's
was
gonna be
waiting to come out.
no,
I
it's
skipped through the most recent episode.
no, well, thank you to you. Yeah, I'm pretty sure our response to that question, because we were so perplexed by all of your other questions, but this one, I think I got it out. I said, fuck that, and I just moved on. So
Come on, I wanted to see you do the math. You guys gotta try it again for the next one. I'm resending it. Your next episode, you're gonna answer that math problem.
ugh. Yeah, I still think the funniest thing I saw like at late night at Walmart was like these two like completely stoned out of their minds, like 30-year-old dudes riding the little ride on carts for the disabled people,
Yeah.
just racing down the aisle, going like a mile an hour, like the slowest like race I've ever seen. And the whole time I'm just watching it, and they weren't bothering anybody. They were just racing down the aisles, and I was just like, this is hilarious and somewhat wholesome.
All right, Bill. I found my math problem. Get ready. Pencils up. What is the square root of 55 divided by the number of states multiplied by how many cars can fit in a Walmart parking lot?
I'm pretty sure my response was, "Who gives a shit?" and just
I
moved
give a
on.
shit. This is on your SATs. You gotta study. I thought you were looking down to actually write stuff down, and I realized you were just grabbing your beer. Damn it. Come
Yeah.
on, do the math. Someone give me that answer, please. Someone do the math. Get an average of the Walmart parking lots in the US of A. Please, someone answer my math problem. I will
So
be grateful.
I'm assuming you did. You actually work most of this week, or were you working from home most of this week?
No, I was in work. Cause it only took me like I worked in the morning. On Wednesday when I got my car fixed, but then I ended up going into work after, so I just went to work right after.
Oh, so the only day you didn't work was today.
Well, I did work. I was
Well,
just working
it
from
didn't
home.
didn't go in.
Yeah, I didn't go in today. Yeah, I left a little early yesterday because my head was hurting so bad I could barely think. And I just told my boss, I'm like, I don't feel good, but I went through all my meetings and stuff that you didn't show up to. Just kidding. I'm a little butthurt. It's fine. I didn't feel that bad. Literally, if I had gone into work today, it would have been disaster.
Yeah,
Disaster. Bill knows why. I'm not
yeah.
gonna say why.
All I know
On
is I had to get Pepto, and I
no,
can't find.
no.
No, Pepto is the solution to many things. You're the one who's like giving away information.
I don't. You, no, no. But Miss
Also,
Eagles was my buddy.
speaking of that though, like going through like all these different stores, can they like stop rearranging shit every fucking 2 weeks?
Hmm.
Because like I could not find the goddamn Pepto. I almost had to get Alex Pepto for kids because that's all I could fucking find. And then I found it. It's completely on the other side of the fucking store. I was like, why? But yeah, anyways. Oh, I hate the world sometimes.
What are you drinking? I did see a can.
I have me a Blue Moon Belgian White.
Ooh.
Because I did not feel like a generic beer. And well, I felt like a beer, but I didn't want one of the big three. I wanted something like at least
One
somewhat
Piece?
fun. The big three could mean so many things.
I know. What are the calories? What are the facts?
It's not good for you.
What
That's
are
all
the
that matters.
facts? No, what are
Who
the
cares?
ingredients? I
I
need
don't
the
fucking
ingredients.
know. It's
I
a
want to
beer.
know. Wait. What is the name of it again?
I'm not doing this.
It was Blue Moon.
I'm not doing this.
Wait, no, I just want to know. I wanted to buy some. What was it
No,
called
no
again?
you didn't. you.
What? No, what's it called? I like Blue Moons. What was it
I'm not doing this.
again? What were you drinking?
No.
All right, fine. Aren't you gonna ask me what I'm drinking?
What are you drinking, Alex?
I'm drinking a Popeyes sweet tea. Let me read the facts.
There are no facts. 'Cause it's a goddamn cup.
No. Wait, actually, uh, Popeyes, Louisiana Kitchen, Toy Coca-Cola. Oh, it's just trademark information, but it says Popeyes, Coca-Cola, Louisiana Kitchen, 1972. Turn off that goddamn music, Bill. I am pissed. It's a sweet tea. Who doesn't love a good sweet tea from Popeye?
The people who buy unsweetened tea.
They don't get it. They don't get. I didn't even finish my Popeyes. My stomach's been hurting and I haven't eaten. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right, guys, don't worry. Blue Moon,
Oh,
Belgian, white, nutritional facts. All right, guys. Bill won't. Bill won't. Bill won't give us the facts, but I got them. Don't worry. All right. It is 168 calories, 14 grams of carbs,
I could tell them what was really happening, and I had to get you
1.9
the
grams.
Pepto.
Well,
That stopped you real fast. I love that she's so high pitched that she just breaks her mic. You didn't change a thing.
could you hear that?
No. That's how everyone knows you're full of shit.
Could you hear that?
Anyways, we've waffled on
Are you
enough.
sure you don't? Are you sure you don't want to hear any more facts?
No, because I know it's alcohol. It's not good
Do
for
you
you.
know what it pairs best with?
I don't really care.
Buffalo wings, Asian food, Mexican
Ew.
food, spicy food, nutty
That's like
food,
the
fried food,
last.
pizza, and steaks.
It's a beer. You just drink it with whatever.
Bill, the beer connoisseurs are going to be mad at you.
I don't care. I drink beer because I like beer. Like, who
I
gives
drink
a
beer
shit?
because I like garbage. No.
But yeah, anyways, other than that, this has not. Haven't been doing great on my anime watching this week, mostly because I was trying to catch up on other stuff like manga and
What was our last? When did we last update people? What were the last shows we were talking about?
the
I was
last
still
thing.
watching Nana, right?
Yeah, you were.
And you
'Cause
were watching the show we were talking about today.
I think I was watching Real Life by that point.
Oh, okay. I think I was still finishing
Oh,
up
I
Nana.
watched. I watched Real Life. I finished. The third season of Slime. That time I got reincarnated as a slime. Finally,
Mhm.
really loved that. I can't wait for season 4. They were really hyping us up with that ending.
Mm.
That and I watched Hitalia. I watched Hitalia.
Yeah, you did watch that. I can't believe
Holy,
you went ahead and watched that.
it popped. Some Matt had watched it, and I was kind of like, all right, if he's watched it, I have to watch it at this point because I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point.
Wait, if you guys talk about Hitalia, I want in. I've
I'll let you
watched that
know.
many years ago.
I need to watch the following seasons as well. I only watched Axis Powers.
It's no, I will say the only one that I really. I mean, like, I don't want to say look back on with fond memories because it's very racist. Like, it's very not nice. Like, it's bad.
It's called Japan Don't Give a Fuck.
Yeah,
That's
and
what that show's called.
especially now in our climate nowadays, it's not. It's
You mean
full.
anything involving Russia and Ukraine?
Yeah,
These are
it's
characters
not.
in the show, by the way.
No, yeah. We could talk about it, but I want to be involved. But I think I've attempted to watch the other seasons, but in all honesty, I just go. It's Axis Powers is the best out of them, so that's the only one I really go back and rewatch if I was gonna rewatch it. But if you're gonna talk about Italian, what?
Pasta.
Pasta. Italy is my favorite.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
watched that. That was an experience.
aren't you gonna ask me?
What have you been watching, Alex? I know
Well,
you've shared.
I finished Nana, and then I watched Slime. Well, and then I finished Nana. I watched the show we're gonna talk about today, Bill's pick. And then I watched That Time I Was Reincarnated as a Slime, the Colossus OVA, and then all of season 3. I watched Solo Leveling, which I thought was really good. There's a season 2 coming out in January, so I'm excited
There's so
about
many
that.
season 2s coming
There's
out.
like a lot of really good shit coming out in January, and I'm pumped. What else did I watch? I watched that. I started watching The Elusive Samurai, but I didn't realize the out 3 more. That Wand and Wisteria show, which like I saw people were giving it like pretty good scores, but I just thought it was okay. I didn't think it was anything special. And now I'm watching the Shangri-La Frontier or Shangri-La Frontier, which is pretty good. And it's really funny because the main character is voiced by the voice actor who does Sanji.
Oh, Eric Vale.
Yes. Which is very funny. because he does a really great job. But sometimes, like, I'm like, that's Sanji. Like, that's a Sanji voice. Just like some of his tones and stuff. Like, I just know him as Sanji, so it's very.
Anytime like any of the classic Funimation actors show up, you're always like, I know them.
I know you. And then another one too though is he ends up one of his like friends, party mates. I'm pretty for certain is the voice actor of Rimuru.
Mhm.
So it's just really funny seeing like Rimuru and like Sanji having a conversation, um, which is pretty funny. So, but I've actually been really enjoying that one. I'm almost done. I'll probably finish it tonight.
See, I think we're kind of at a point now where we're like swimming so we're eating good when it comes to animes right now that
There's
we're getting to the point now where unlike back in the past where you kind of like a lot people liked a lot more stuff because you kind of we only got so much at the time. Now we have so much anime that people are more picky choosy when it comes to it.
no, yeah. I mean, like now I'm more willing to drop something if I don't like it. Like the one who was Wisteria show, I actually was tempted to drop. Um, but I ended up just powering through it to finish it. I don't think I'll watch a second season. I just thought it was kind of boring. Uh, it just wasn't. I don't. Some of the fights were cool, but it was also felt like too. So the main plot of that one was like the main character was like a. It was a world of magic, and he was the magicless character, and he had a big sword. I was like, this kind of reminds me of something,
Hmm.
just a little bit.
Hmm.
Uh, but he's just also like I don't know, like he's kind of emo, not fully,
Okay,
but
so
kind of
not
a,
not not quite the same thing.
not quite. It honestly like he's like a mix of Yuno and Asta,
Ah,
but
so
like not good.
the shippers got their way finally.
Yeah, probably. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. I just couldn't get into it, and I feel like too, like his, it didn't really show. I mean, I don't want to say he wasn't strong, but like he kind of gets a power, but it's like at the very like last. I don't know. I didn't think it was that great, so I won't watch another season probably. But yeah,
Yay.
but I'm hoping my goal is that I want to get to 100 before we do our podcast,
Yeah, yeah, I know,
which is
because
already in.
we're gonna you're gonna make us all look bad. We know.
I That's my goal. My goal is to make you. Though
I
I
don't.
did go back and re-listen to the one we did last year, and I lied. I didn't. One of the things I was like, I promise I'm gonna watch Dragon Ball Z this year. I have not
Still, yeah,
done that.
still haven't done that.
It's a
You're gonna.
commitment.
Okay, Miss watches One Piece every fucking year.
I will say I haven't actually watched that much One Piece this year. I won't lie. I really haven't. I've been trying to watch other shows, and I found so many great shows, like one of the ones we're going to talk about today. But there's so much good ones out there. Like, oh, and they're still getting more. And One Piece is going on a break, so I have time to catch up because it won't come back out until April.
I love that logic. Dragon Ball is such a commitment. Legit favorite anime is One Piece. Okay.
It's a commitment for me. Okay.
You know something though that I thought about that like a show that's hype has died significantly recently?
What?
Chainsaw Man. Like no one's talking about Chainsaw Man right now.
Well, it's because there's no information on it.
Yeah, like they announced they're doing that movie, which is still weird to me. But why they're doing I guess because it's a major arc, but they announced it and then we've heard nothing. Probably because it's Mappa and Mappa is fucking doing everything now, apparently, except for One Punch Man season 3, apparently.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the thing is too is there's just a lot of really good content coming out right now as well. Like I mean, because Dawn to Dawn is kind of on everyone's mind right now.
Don to
Which
Don, I think the Rurouni Kenshin remake season 2 just launched. I know a lot of people are into that.
there's like
Um,
there's another big one out right now too. I thought. Well, I was looking at some of the lineup for.
Ranma, the Ranma remake is
Yeah.
out now
I'm,
too. Also Mappa. I'm just gonna say.
yeah. I just feel like they haven't really been talking about it, so like people have kind of just like forgot. I mean, the truth is that if you don't hype it up, I mean, there's always those dedicated people, but there's so much other content coming out all the time that it's just
Yeah. It's weird how like out of all the big new shows that have been coming out, like I think Spy Family is the only one that is keeping people interested just because how well that show has just done.
I've been tempted to start reading the manga too.
Oh, it's so
'Cause,
worth
like,
it.
I see spoilers on Twitter all the time, and I'm just like, ooh, like I gotta make like I gotta make a Shonen Jump account because I want to get back into reading One Piece as well because it's so far. Like it's already past Egghead at that point, but I need to get into it. I need to. I gotta. Yeah.
I mean, at least the upside to Spy Family right now is it's still early enough that collecting it's not going to be not super hard.
True.
It's about the same as a show we're talking about today, actually, in terms of length.
Yes, yes.
But I think with
Someone's
on that,
calling me. Who are you?
uh,
I keep getting like this phone, like this call from something called Hilton. Like I don't know if it's like a Hilton hotel that just has the wrong number.
yeah, I would if they don't leave a message, I wouldn't answer back.
No, they don't. So
Yeah, that just
actually, I want to see what's coming. So winter 2025. Oh, see, we have like so we got
my
My Happy Marriage.
yep.
We got Solo Leveling season 2, which I think you should watch Solo Leveling. It was real good. Just saying. Doctor Stone, Sakamoto Days.
Oh yeah, that's coming out.
Yeah.
That's one that I'm interested how they're going to handle because that's like a gag manga that gets serious all of a sudden. Um, I will say about Sakamoto Days, the latter half of the manga kind of gets a bit lost from the plot of what it started as, but I'll leave that up for people who want to check it out. Also, I think Discord changed the sound effect for whenever you get a notification because I keep hearing this sound that I have no idea what it. Yeah, whatever that was. I don't think anybody heard that because it's headphones, but yeah,
Oh my
Discord
gosh,
changed it.
there's even more because then in spring 2025 we're getting I don't know if it's the final season, but the third season of Fire Force,
Huh.
which has been a while because I think I remember watching season 2 of Fire Force during COVID, so it's been a bit.
Didn't that wasn't that a
Windbreaker,
show that wasn't that a show that season two like you said kind of fell off?
yeah, I'm hoping that it comes back like it gets back on track. Maybe season 3. I'll definitely watch it because I've already committed. It's kind of like Shield Hero, like I've made the commitment, so I can't not watch it at this point. Um, Windbreaker, that'll be coming in the spring. There's like a bunch of.
Yeah.
I want now. I'm just.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
they've already confirmed Oshinoko season 3. It's going to be really sad when Oshinoko gets a full adaptation before Kaguya-sama does at the rate it's going.
Yeah. Sometimes you can't control it. Oh, have you? So I've sent you some of the jokes, but have you seen any of the Blue Lock animation?
No.
Oh my god, it's terrible.
Well,
I sent you a video. They're literally like they're not even animated. They're just still frames that are literally going across. I'm not kidding. At one point, there was a PowerPoint transition through it, like where it looks
yay.
like a fake page flipping the screen. It's terrible. Oh my god.
Womp,
I think
womp, womp.
I think what's happening is that they're planning to spend all the budget. There's like a big match coming up. So everyone's secretly hoping that like they're just saving all the budget for that and that's going to be amazing, but oh my god, like I've seen some of the animation. I'm like that it's like not even animated. It's just like stills, like just stills. And people have even gone up and like looked and like, wait, that looks familiar. And they found the PNG, like the file, like the picture file, like on Google Images that they just
Yep.
like scooted across the screen. It's so bad. I
Yep.
haven't watched the episode yet, but like, oh my god, apparently it's egregious.
See, it's really hilarious that we have like how much because we get so much fucking anime now. There is such like a drastic like shift between quality of certain shows. Like you got to fucking map a show where like there's like this tiny little thing that doesn't look great and the fans fucking lose their mind over it despite those fucking animators literally borderline slave labor over there. Um and then we've got like this shit where it's like, yeah, good enough.
Oh, I didn't realize that they do the studio that does Blue Lock also does slime.
Which studio is it?
8-bit.
8-bit. Oh yeah, they're newer. They're new on the
Yeah.
newer side.
Well,
That's funny.
I'm just gonna pray that they're saving the budget. They're holding on to that budget for for the big match. I hope so because oh my god, if this is how the whole season is, like they're gonna ruin the series.
It'll be Sailor Moon Crystal all over again.
I mean, at least they actually animated it. Like,
Yeah, but she was a
just
sleep paralysis demon.
yeah. But this is like egregious in a different way of like there's no effort.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
I think we've waffled on enough that we should probably get into our topic for this
Why do you
episode.
keep saying waffled on?
That's my new term for like
I hate it.
the bullshitting.
I hate it. Find a different word.
You know what's sad? We've expanded it to all three of the shows now, where like that we just like spend the first like half the episode talking about bullshit before we actually get to our topic.
You copied our show, is what you're saying.
No,
you're just copy and pasting G and C.
I borrowed.
Is this your way of phasing out G and C?
No.
I knew it.
Why would I phase out the one that's gone for almost 200 fucking episodes? I love this show.
No, you don't. You hate it. You're waiting. You can't wait to give me the pink slip, the firing.
But
one day you're gonna like show up and you're just a third person. It's gonna be like Slade, and you're gonna be like, you've been replaced. Get out. Get out of the family. He's adopted.
Alex, you see that logo in the corner? Do you see there's two people in said logo?
Yeah. You can edit that real quick.
Oh my god. Anyways, let's get on to our topic for this
you have
episode.
to edit the bottom one too. Is the fourth square meant there's going to be a fourth podcast?
No, that's just because there's no good way to make a 3 square.
That'll look actually good. There will be water bottle facts or nutritional facts, the podcast. People recommend me things to read and I'll read them for 3 hours.
Jesus. Anyways, so let's get to our topic. We're doing we kind of alluded to it, but we're doing another anime swap. It's been, we haven't done nearly as many this year as we've done in the past.
You know what we should do the next one? We should have someone else we should do like a 3-person anime swap. Get a third person to contribute a show for us.
Maybe for next season, if we'll see. We'll discuss.
If it's not, if GNC isn't canceled by then.
So we're doing anime swap. The last one we did was we had done Sandland and what was your show for? Oh yeah, Zom 100.
Yes, because I always pick the good shows.
Oh shit.
I'm kidding. I know Sandland was good.
But for this one I went a little out of the box from my normal choices this time. Because frankly, I wanted to just pick something that was just completely out of left field for once.
Yep.
So for this anime swap, we're going to be covering a show called Flying Witch and a show called Kaiju No.8. You've probably heard of the latter one at this point.
I've mentioned it
several
times.
I will say right off the bat, there is not a ton to say about Flying Witch because it's only 13 episodes. It barely covers even like any part of the manga because the manga's been much longer. The best way I can describe this show is it's cute, it's quick. It's kind of like one of those things you watch when you just need something kind of quick and wholesome and you just don't really want to be that invested in it. That's the best way to describe it. I will say the animation is fine. Like art style is great and stuff. The manga art is arguably a lot better. It's one of those ones where I think the manga just does the whole thing better.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely shows like that where it's hard to translate the anime, like the manga aesthetic into anime. I mean, we've brought up Dorohedoro several times. Of like that art style. It's just there's no way they'll perfectly translate it over.
That's why they did it in the way they did, because that was a much better option than trying to do it the anime style and just failing.
But even like the other show, Kaiju No.8, which we'll talk about too, there actually was fans complaining about some of the animation as
Well,
well not being perfect to the manga, which I mean is usual for most popular shows. But even then, like I've read the manga, or I'm actively reading the manga, and it's not perfect translation, but I don't think
they
any
they
anime
rarely
does.
are. Like,
Besides One Piece, One Piece is pretty
I mean,
shit.
even One Piece is very good, but there are moments where it isn't identical.
You take that
No,
fucking back.
I'm not even
You
saying
take
it's
that
bad.
back.
I'm just saying there's
You
like when it
take
comes
it
to
back. It's excellent. It's perfection.
like I'll even admit like Inuyasha, like it's
Well,
very
Inuyasha's Inuyasha.
that's a freaking Reddit board, but
Oh, wait, really?
yeah, there's a Reddit. It's not
Oh
what you
wait, I
think
already
it
knew.
is.
I made it.
It's not a meme page. It's something else. But
Oh, is everyone just? Is it a hate page?
no, I don't want to describe it. It's weird. But
Oh, I don't want to know then.
yeah, you really don't. Um, but anyways, yeah, going into like stuff like that, like even like with Inuyasha, like the animation's good, but it doesn't look like Rumiko's art one to one because it's just the amount of money it would take and like at time and effort to make something look one to one perfect. It's just not worth it.
Yeah,
Like,
and just probably also not feasible with
like a
just like
film, maybe like a film might be able to get away with it, but obviously it would have a much higher budget and it would be take a lot more time. These shows have to be pumped out, so it's not like you can't expect the world. But of course, we live in an age now where everyone complains about everything because no one can be
oh
happy.
yeah.
Um,
No, I that is very true. I feel like we're definitely in that age of like I feel like people complain sometimes just to not be different, but a little bit of that. Like I feel
well,
like
there's
sometimes
people have a contrary, like people. It's a thing. It's a phenomenon going around now called like debate brain, where people just have to debate everything and like they can't just be happy with something.
yeah.
Um, but I'll go back to like why I picked this show a little bit. It's not really a secret. In the past couple weeks, I've been having a pretty rough time mentally, and I haven't been doing
Yeah.
great. And I just needed something that was simple and not depressing for
Yeah,
once.
something to just take your brain
Yeah,
out of the brain. No, yeah, there's some shows that I definitely wouldn't watch when I'm feeling down, and there's
yeah.
some shows that I gravitate towards more when, like, One Piece is my comfort show.
Like,
I watch specific parts of it when I want to feel happy.
yeah. Like if we weren't planning out this anime swap, if we had planned out this swap, like say like a week before or like a week after, I probably wouldn't have picked this show just because it wouldn't have been on my mind at the time. It was just kind of a spur of the moment thing where I was like, let's talk about this one. I feel like talking about it.
Yeah.
Um, so I'll say why I picked this show though. Like otherwise, like I actually this is one of those shows where I had the manga first before I saw the show. Um, I found the manga because it was so what's interesting is this manga is not super easy to find. Like I actually had to buy it all on Amazon because like you can't find the physical volumes in like at least in the Barnes and Nobles near us. Like I even went down to the Newbury just to see
Mhm.
nothing. I found the first volume. That's how I kind of discovered it because it was on this display with because the display was essentially like if you're a Studio Ghibli fan, you might like these.
Oh, okay. That kind of
And
makes sense.
yeah, the art style, especially in the manga, is very Ghibli-esque. Like it's very it's arguably better in some aspects than like particular Ghibli works, but like it's very soft around the edges.
I
Not
would say
super.
not cutesy, but like I feel like Ghibli tends to have that more.
It's not the best way I describe it is it's not hypersexualized like a lot of animes tend to be these days.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I found the first volume there because I was very intrigued by the cover art because I just found the cover art to be real. Like this is one of those series where like the cover arts are super well drawn and like very artsy and like they pop out at you like they're very striking covers. So when I saw the cover to like the first volume, I was immediately drawn to it. I mean, everyone knows I kind of like female protagonists with long black hair. It's just a thing I'm into. Um,
Ew. Just
oh,
kidding.
shut it, One Piece fan.
What anything, huh?
Okay, Miss has a shrine to Luffy in her house.
Hey, if I could get a bunch of we'll talk about it with Kaiju number 8. But there's a certain
Okay,
character
cool.
that I just freaking love, and I want to get all the
I'm
figures of.
aware. And interesting, short black hair. Hmm.
Hey, no,
Hmm.
no, no.
But anyways,
That's two characters. That's two characters I like. You gotta admit, he is such a fun guy.
that okay. Well, let's go back to the. I'm trying to tell a story. Um,
No, we gotta just talk. Let's fuck with the flying. I can't
I'm
sentence with the line
sure,
right. That
considering
sentence.
how some people view this show, that's probably been written and drawn already.
Uh,
Anyways, so yeah, this show, it was just one of those things. I ended up collecting it all, and I enjoyed. I haven't read it all, but I've enjoyed what I've read so far. And when I saw that there was a 13 episode anime, I was kind of like, oh, that's quick and easy. I can bang that out real quick. So I go to Crunchyroll, and I'm like, oh, it's not dubbed on Crunchy, and I was like, darn. And then I realized, wait a minute, if it's not dubbed on
High
Crunchy,
dive.
I go to High Dive and I just checked. I'm like, oh, here it is. Of course it's here.
You
It's
know
High
what?
Dive.
I gotta say something about High Dive. Every time I go on there, they really keep trying to make me watch that plus size elf show, and I don't want to watch it. And
Yeah.
I'm seeing the reviews, and like all the like on Mal, it's like a 4-star or 5-star rating. So clearly, I'm not gonna watch it. But every time, it's always blasted everywhere, and I'm like, and High Dive sucks because you can't like you have to go back and search every time you want to
Yeah, because
watch a
High Dive
show.
can't remember what you've watched, and sometimes it gives me what you've watched, and I'm like, all right, because
It's I
because
have gripes with High Dive.
oh, everyone does. High Dive. I'm happy that it exists, but my god, their UI is shit, and they've redone it 3 times.
God,
Um,
it's terrible.
but yeah, for anyone who wants to watch Flying Witch, it's on High
Or
Dive.
the plus size elf. It's on there.
Yeah,
They're really trying to make you watch it because every time
High Dive is literally like the bottom of the bucket for shit that no one else wanted to dub
no
at
one
time.
wants that.
There's
I
great
think that
shit
was
on there,
dumb for it.
like Parasite was originally on there. It's on everything now, but
Nana is on there too, and Nana is a very good watch. But you got to remember, it's voiced by Sango, aka Barbie, and she leans more toward Barbie. So
yes. Well, it was also during that era where everyone used the Ocean cast. But
yes.
yeah, so that being said, getting into
Back
the
to the back to the. How many tangents has it been?
it's normal for us. We're actually not we've been at least talking anime. Um
True.
so
I could
the
change the subject. You want to talk about beans?
no.
I was
Um
I was
yeah, we
petting
can talk
two
about
little
that
soul
we can
beans.
talk about that phallic object you posted in the cursed image chat.
That was funny, and you know it.
I love how that was a scrub brush, but nobody saw a scrub brush.
I know
Um
that was the point.
so
It was cursed.
Flying Witch to me is kind of like a more realistic version of Kiki's delivery service in a lot of ways. Um, that's kind of where the Ghibli esque comes from, where the whole
Yeah, I
gimmick
was gonna say when I first like heard that, and especially about her going to another town, I was like, this is very Kiki's
it is, but like
inspired.
the difference is Kiki was a very like she knew what she wanted character and she was gonna do it. Our protagonist of this show is
An airhead,
her name is Makoto Kawata, and she's
an
adorable,
airhead.
but she's dumb as rocks, has no sense of direction, and is way too trusting at
And
times.
in direction, not only actual like where to go, but also just like direction in her life. Like she's just kind of like, yeah, whatever.
Her legit plot is I'm a witch. Hey, let's go to high school. Hey, I can fly now. Cool. Oh, I'm gonna catch this bird. Um,
Yeah,
like her,
she's squirrel brain.
she is. To be fair, everybody in this show is kind of squirrel brain. Like one of the other characters we get is her cousin, who is the so she goes to live with like her some relatives, and like the main people there are um a cousin of hers, Kei Kuramoto, who is like the first person she meets, and his whole gimmick is like he is completely aware of all the witch shit, and he just
And
doesn't
he just,
care.
yeah, he's
He's
just
just
like, yeah,
perfectly
whatever.
he's fine with it. He's like, oh yeah. Like when his little sister discovers that Makoto can fly and she's having like a freaking mental like crisis, he's like, "Oh yeah, she can do that. That's normal." Also, what do you want to do for dinner? Like that's like his basic like plot.
Yeah, like doesn't give a fuck.
No, and you'll notice like real fast, no one in this universe gives a fuck except for like the friend that they meet at school who's like just weirded out by everything. But of course,
She's
Makoto wants
the
to be her.
she's the one character who's just like what, like she's the actual person who's just like, what is happening? And everyone else is like, just don't worry about it. It's fine. It's
And
fine.
by that logic, of course, Makoto wants to be her best friend because
Yes.
that's just how this show goes. Um, Essentially, the plot it just kind of follows Makoto's daily. It's basically a slice of life, but like there's a little twist where she's trying to learn how to be a witch, and like occasionally her sister from like across the world will just show up.
Hmm.
They have pet cats, but the cats are actually just their familiars. They're not real cats, but
Yes.
they're fun enough as it is. Um, and yeah, basically the episode's kind of the plot just goes they go by day to day. They have different events that happen. At one point, the little sister wants to also be a witch, so she just starts training with them, even though I'm not sure that's how it works.
They said it could be possible.
Yeah. And like one of her trainings is like she has to like make a garden so she can make her witch herbs to make like potions and stuff. And this is
Which
like
it
one
does
of
introduce the best character in the show.
yeah. Where so they're out back and they're like trying to make this farm, but the farm has been invaded by like it's like a peacock, I think. And
No, it was a pheasant.
a pheasant, right? And this pheasant is basically like a prick, and it doesn't want to be caught. So of course Makoto has to catch it. And we get this wonderful 12-second clip of her just trying to catch it for like 20 minutes while everyone just watches.
Yep.
And then we get introduced to the dad of the family that's staying there.
Best character.
He he cares too much about everything, and it is great. Like he is so gung ho happy to be there. He's like, "Oh hell yeah, we're making a garden. Oh, she's gonna catch the pheasant. Hell yeah!" Like
Also, dumb as rocks. Like
most
most
people
of the
in
characters in the show, just stupid.
the one smart person is like is the girl who from the school who's just
Yeah.
there in
It was
most
just like,
parts.
please help me get away from these people.
I also love too how like this like strange like creature will show up because it has to give Makoto something, and the little sister will open the door and just be like, "That's it immediately."
Oh,
She's like,
oh,
"There's a
you mean like the spring, the spring keeper? What was
yeah
his name?
the spirit of spring or whatever."
The harbinger of spring.
Yeah, he's
He
like just
looked
this.
friendly. I don't know. I think she was being
No,
dramatic. He seemed like a
every no
nice
she
guy.
he was a nice guy. He was a very nice guy. That was kind of the old joke. Is he looks imposing, but then he shows up and he's just
He's just
trying to
like,
get in the house.
hello.
The best part though is every time Makoto like something happens, the Makoto's response is always like, "Oh yeah, that's just this person. Like he's fine." Like just completely brushes it off and then proceeds to get lost again.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it might sound like not a lot happens in the show, but that's because not a lot happens in the show. This show is like the epitome of
It's
wholesome. Like it's
like
the it's a it's
it's kind of, I was gonna say it's kind of like Azumanga Daioh, like where there's not really a certain story it's happening. It's just multiple kind of
it's
events.
yeah
It's like a different event each time.
it's a less funny Azumanga now because the show isn't intended to be super funny.
I
It's
think
more
it's
supposed to
more
be
meant to be wholesome.
it's wholesome and cute. It's a very much a show that you need when you just want to turn your brain off for minutes and
No,
just not.
there was definitely some, like I will say, like, would I rewatch the show again? No, but there were
No,
definitely some episodes
I
that like I was like, oh, like I like this, like I like the one where they went to the cafe.
yeah, in the
Like that
cafe
was a really,
worker.
yeah, and that was the ghost. But then you also met like some of the other characters, like the Veil of Darkness or like the little fox guy. Like, and that was like cool interactions, or even the little lady. But like that was fun. But then there were some episodes where I was just like definitely more paying attention to my phone than
Yeah,
paying attention to what was happening on the
like
screen.
I'll say right off the bat, like this, I don't think this show's gonna get a season two. I'm pretty sure this was a one and done.
It's
Um,
been a while since this came out too, right?
yeah,
It came out in like 26.
in Japan it did. I think the dub was a little later.
Yeah.
I will say if I don't plan on rewatching this, but if I was gonna, well, I am gonna revisit it. I'll be reading the manga. because the
Yeah.
manga I feel like does a better job. It's more kind of fitting with kind of the plot that's going on. That being said, though, the animation very nice. Like it's
Oh
not
yeah.
like
It's not the top of the line best animation, but it's clean, it's good, it's smooth, there's no weird.
it's very stylized. Like it's got a distinct look to it,
Mhm.
and there's never a point where you're watching and you're like, this feels cheap.
Yeah.
The voice cast is very good. It's mostly high dive, like Sentai Filmworks regulars, like um a
I
couple
w-
of the
oh oh I forgot the one thing I had to comment on when I first listened to Makoto talk. I swore she sounded just like the bunny from Max and Ruby.
um
It was not when I looked it up, but I was like, I'm telling you, please listen to just a snippet of Max and Ruby of the girl talking, and then watch a clip of this, and you'll be like, they do sound a little similar. Because I did that, and I was like,
they
it's not the
do.
same person, but oh my god, just how the mannerisms and how she talked just remind. I was like, is this a voice actor of Max and Ruby? Like, that's all I
No.
could think of. It wasn't. It wasn't when I looked it up, but like, it sounded very similar.
She's done a lot of guest work and like recurring roles, not a lot of main cast things. Like because I did go to behind the voice actors because anytime I see a character like this that I don't know, I always have to go check. And I was very kind of this is like I think one of her like two main roles because I mean she
She has
was
a
in
very particular voice.
yeah,
Like
very very fitting for the character. She's got that like airheady kind of
Max
inflection.
and Ruby. Ruby. She got Ruby voice.
That being said, I think the most well-known actor in this show is definitely Adam Gibbs, who plays the brother.
Mhm.
Adam Gibbs is in pretty much every Sentai project, even some funny projects. Like he's the main character in My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu. He's the main character in Ayuka. I'm pretty sure he's the main character in Parasite as well. Um, just to name a few off the top. He's very good at playing those kind of like emo, depressing kind of just characters.
Yeah.
Oh, also his other gimmick too is like when they're doing witch shit, he's just in the background watching action movies the entire time.
Yes.
Um, also, the one other episode I found really funny is when they were making the witch's potion, and there was two effects. Either they made because they basically had to they put the curse witch's potion curse into like these like snack foods. And essentially, the curse was either you laugh uncontrollably or you cry uncontrollably.
Yep.
Um, so of course Makoto eats the crying one, and she's just crying hysterically well for the whole thing. But then of course the dad eats both, and he's
Yep.
crying and
And
laughing
laughing.
hysterically. Just fun nonsense like that. It's very much a junk food show. That's kind of how
Yeah.
I refer to it.
Like I don't regret. Like I wouldn't have dropped it. Like it's not. It wasn't that bad, but it definitely wasn't like my
No,
favorite show in
it's
the world.
it is a very I don't want to say average because average sounds mean. It is a very safe show. It's cute. It's safe.
Yeah.
It's
It
very
does.
quick.
It's nothing groundbreaking.
No, not by any means. It's literally kind of like if you wanted Kiki's Delivery Service, the show, but instead of a like elementary school age girl, it's a high schooler
Yeah.
who's a lot dumber,
Very
but
dumb.
in an endearing way
And
though.
sounds like Ruby from Max and Ruby.
Yeah, I gave it a 7. It's a very it's not bad, but it's also nothing that like I'd say is like top of the line art. Like it wouldn't make my top
Yeah.
25 next year.
I think I gave it a. Actually, I can pull it up from my handy dandy spreadsheet. I gave it a 6, but if I could give it a 0.5, I'd give it a 6.5.
Yeah, but I mean for Mal ratings, that's still pretty good. So
No, yeah, I would say like I gave them the wand and wizard one. I think I gave that a 5. So yeah, I didn't really like that one.
yeah. But the thing that endeared me to the show was the fact that it's got this whole like magical fantasy thing going on, but
Mhm.
nobody in the world gives a shit and everyone
No,
just goes
yeah,
about their day. Like it's just like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Oh,
Like,
she's a
it's
witch.
not a very
Sweet.
big deal at all.
No, it's not. Like the first scene we see Makoto with her powers, she's just like picking up random brooms, and then the little girl looks away, and the next thing you know, she's just flying.
Yep. She's like, whatever.
I also
And
like there was like the storyline about like they were like, oh no, you're not supposed to like straddle the broom all the time. That's how you get pain. You're
yeah.
supposed to just hold it and then you float. You float otherwise. And then Makoto's like, oh, that makes so much sense. I was like, this is painful otherwise. And I'm just like, she is so dumb but lovable at the same time.
Well, she was something.
It
She
was.
was something.
I think basically I've said it a few times, but the best way to describe the show is it's cute, and that's really all
Yeah.
it needs to be.
No, yeah.
It's not the worst thing I've ever watched, not the best, but it was fine.
No, yeah. I don't regret. I didn't want to drop it. So, and I think that's pretty good for me.
Yeah,
it's pretty good ranking for me.
it's also so quick that like it's not even like
no,
worth
yeah. I think
dropping
I watched
because
it in like 2 days.
I did it in a sitting, but I also started it pretty early in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was Flying Witch. That was me trying to be more out of my box. And I didn't.
This was not me trying to be out of my box. This is me going, oh, I think I like this show. I'm going to watch it.
Well,
And then going, yes, I do like this show. I'm going to keep watching it.
Yeah.
Yes, I will
choice.
buy all the manga. Yes. And then I'll force Bill to watch it. And then he buys all the manga.
See,
this
is a reverse. Flying Witch, I bought the manga first and then watched the show just because I like the manga. This is a case of Alex was like, this show's good. You should watch it. And then when I proposed, this is how Alex gets me. When I proposed Flying Witch for the next swap, she's like, good, fine, watch Kaiju No.8. I was like, oh, well, she's got me now.
I get Bill to watch all my recommendations, but you have to admit, every recommendation I give you, you end up freaking loving. Kaiju No.8, Psalm 100. What else did I tell you to watch?
I enjoyed Zom, but not enough to get the manga.
I told you to watch Kaguya-sama Love is War, Bill.
Yes, although that was before we were doing full series swaps. So
yes, but every suggestion I give you ends up being one of your favorites. So give me a round of applause.
I need a clapping sound effect.
Give me a physical one. Go into the mic.
See, this is an audio podcast. People can just assume that was me.
No, do it right now. That was me before. Give me a round of applause.
I'll give you a little golf clap. There you go.
I could barely hear it, but okay, I'll take it.
So Kaiju No.8, Alex. Why this show? Like, what made you want to watch it?
Well, I just honestly just kept seeing like clips of it popping up like on my timeline and stuff, and I was like, all right, this looks interesting. And then like I think I saw too that because this one the intro and the outro songs are kind of what got me because they're actually
they
both
go
by
so
American,
fucking hard,
and they're both by American artists. So, and it's one of the first ones. Like we've had other American artists come in, but like it's different. I think when it's like someone who's like full. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, yeah. In the past, like you'd get like the best example I can think of is like Hellsing Ultimate. The ending theme for that show is Shine by Mr. Big, which is like a song from 2001.
Yeah, or like the JoJo's outros, but these were songs that were actually made for this show that were made by American artists, which was cool. One of the intro was Abyss by Youngblood, which I really liked, and then the outro, which I love, Nobody by One Republic, which One Republic has made so many songs.
That song, it's in my anime playlist, and whenever it pops up, I'm always like, I always double think because I'm like, this is so jarring.
But it fits actually very well with the anime. Both of them do. I mean, they fit the show great. And I remember, I think I listened to the songs before I watched the show, and I was like, if you get me with a good intro, I will watch it every time. And I don't think I ever skipped on this one. That's why I added it as a category, Bill. Because because like truthfully, like there's some like where I don't skip. Like actually the show I'm watching right now, I have not been skipping at all. Like because I really like the intros and outros. So but Kaiju No.8, what is it about? Well, it's a world where there's these things called kaiju. And I think kaiju just
It's
translates to like monsters,
it's
basically. I think
it's
that's
honestly my first thought was like I was like this is a much more like modern controlled version of like Attack on Titan.
yeah, somewhat. Yeah, kaiju just translates to strange creature, strange beast, or just monster, giant monster. That's basically what kaiju translates to. And it's pretty literal here. Like, it's basically a world. I guess Attack on Titan kind of, but it's also like but there's actually tinier titans too. Similarly, I guess in that, but not really anything else. Well, maybe actually there might be some more parallels now that I'm thinking about it.
That I brought it up because when I was doing research, I saw a lot of people made connections between the two, and I was kind of
Oh,
like, "Huh,
yeah, now
interesting."
I'm thinking about it, yeah, kind of, because it is. I mean, it's a world where there's now these kaiju that just cause regular disasters. Like it's even like programmed into the streetlights. It's one of the first scenes you see,
Yeah,
um, where
I
like
think
they start flashing with the kaiju symbol, like get the fuck out of there,
I
kaiju's
think the
coming.
difference is though this world at least is a bit more in control of the situation.
Well, this one is also like it takes place in a modern setting. Like
Yeah,
it's almost like this is current Japan and suddenly like all these monsters are out and we came up with technology. It's not like set like
it's a lot
where
less hopeless feeling. Like
yeah. And because there's kaiju, there's people that fight the kaiju, which they're the defense force, which is kind of similar to like, Attack on Titan. Um it's really funny you brought it up because now I'm like, oh yeah, this is actually really similar.
I saw it when I was doing research, I saw it come up a lot, and I was like, "Huh." It's
um
because that's like my like Dragon Ball for Alex. That's just one of those shows for I'll watch it someday, but for some reason I'm just so
You gotta
hung up
watch it,
on it.
Bill. It's very worth it.
I get that.
Especially if you
It's
like this, then you'll probably like Attack on Titan.
yeah, I know.
Is it a commitment, Bill?
Yeah, it
That
is.
you made fun of me for saying you've watched all of Dragon Ball, Bill. You can watch all of Attack on Titan. It's not as long.
I mean, true, but I also don't I don't want Alex, it took Rurouni Kenshin is like
You
94 episodes and
also
that
promised in the last
yeah, and
in the last
yeah,
year.
and we're gonna break both of our promises, all right?
All right. Anyways, getting back to the plot. There's kaiju, there's a defense force. And like there's also with the kaiju, there's kind of different levels to them, classified as different like disasters. I think it's like Honju, Yonju, um and then like the stronger kaiju, and then there's Dai Kaiju, which the Hanju and Yoju I think are like the more like just regular ones that can be defeated. Um
They're kind of dumb. Like they're just
yeah,
big
the Dai
brutes.
Kaiju ones are the ones that are basically those are the ones that are given a name. So any of the Dai Kaiju means that um they are so strong that they actually designate a number with them, which hence the title Kaiju number 8. So there's specific ones that are called like the numbered kaiju, which those are all classified as Dai Kaiju. But in this world, it's actually kind of like funny. It's kind of like a good I really like that they brought this up. So our main character, his name is Kafka, and rather than being part of the defense force, he's known as a cleaner,
He
which
picks up the poop.
well, no, not the poop. He cleans up the monster. So I actually thought it was kind of a funny thing, but also realistically, like, because in Attack on Titan, the Titans just kind of dissolve and disappear. Like they just go away after they're killed. In this world, the kaiju after they're killed, well, guess what? Someone has to clean them up. Because if they want to use that part of the city, they're not just going to leave giant rotting corpses of kaiju everywhere. No, they have to clean up, so they have the cleaners. And Kafka is a cleaner. He was trying, and he had actually, when he was younger, he made a promise to his best friend, his childhood friend, Mina, that they would become defense force members together. And he tried and tried and tried multiple times, but he just never made it. And she actually ended up making it and becoming like one of the generals or like
She's
one
on
of like the
goddamn billboards. She's
she
that
is.
tough.
She's that good. Like she's like the head of the third division.
She's
the
also the
captain.
closest thing to a fan service character in this show, which is weird because
Yes.
it's not a super fan servicey show.
No, it really isn't. If anything, I feel like the fan service is more for me sometimes.
Yeah, there's a lot more male
Yeah.
nudity in the show. Like
Yeah.
the most like female like sexuality in the show is like Mina's in a bathtub at one point. Like that's about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. But basically, that's kind of the setup of the world, and that's your main character, Kafka. He's kind of at this point where he's just like, he kind of, well, and there's also like the Defense Force only takes people up to a certain age. So, and he kind of passed the deadline. But, things change and they actually push that deadline back so he could apply it again. But he doesn't really get pushed to do it until another character gets introduced named Reno. And Reno started working as a cleaner to kind of get his foot in the door to understand more, like, to them join the Defense Force. Which by working as a cleaner is also very helpful because you're not only cleaning up the kaiju, but you're kind of learning about how the kaijus work, how their bodies work, how their anatomy is. So even though like Kafka isn't the most like in shape or talented Defense Force member, he is very smart. Um, well, he's gonna join the Defense Force. I spoiled. I'm sorry. I mean, no spoiler
It's
warning.
pretty fucking obvious.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, you kind of know, but
the
Reno.
opening credits spoil it. It's that
Yeah, true.
obvious.
But Reno joining basically kind of pushes him to try and take the exam one more time, because they're kind of doing it together.
Well, what's funny is this is something I picked up at first. The way it first implied it was like because there's a written exam and then there's the physical exam. The
Yep.
way they first implied it was he failed the written exam and that's why he didn't make it. And I was like, oh, okay, it's one of those bullshit things where it's like the test is just stupid. But then you
Mhm.
find out later, no, he always passed that fine. It was the physical part.
Yep. Yeah. Um, which the physical part is really hard. But before they even go and take the exam, they're kind of just working together, and they're
Cleaning
making a
up the
really
poop.
good bond. Yeah. Sometimes they gotta clean. So you gotta do intestine duty.
It's all and
Duty.
it's always I love the line. It's like it's always Kafka because he's good at it.
Yep. And God, and then like one of the funny scenes, and one of the things I want to bring up too is there's so much comedy in this show.
The show's way more humorous than it needs to be. That's
No,
the
I
other
was not expecting it when I first watched it, and I think it made me love the show even more because it was
that's like
just so
the
silly.
other major contrast between this and Attack on Titan, at least from what I've
Yeah.
seen.
I mean, there's definitely it's yeah, I don't really think there's a lot of humor. There's some, but like compared like this has a lot more humor, which I
The
love.
show's
I love
jokes every 5 minutes, even like with the serious
it.
characters.
It's
E-
very yes.
Even Mina, the most serious character in this show, has a couple jokes.
Yeah.
Like
Um but anyways, so before they take the exam, um Hoshina, sorry, I skipped to a whole other character. Sorry, Kafka and Reno. Um, Kafka and Reno, they're ended up working after a job. Well, they stayed later on a job and they're leaving, and then suddenly, kaiju attacks. So they run away. Kafka has Reno run. Well, he kind of runs to scare the kaiju away so it doesn't kill Reno, because in his mind, he's like, if anyone has a chance of joining the Defense Force, it's Reno at this point. So I'm going to sacrifice myself. But they end up getting saved. Reno ends up coming back to help them, but they do end up getting saved by the Defense Force, and it's kind of Kafka's first time seeing Mina up close since childhood, since the last time he's really seen her. But they end up going to the hospital because they did get hurt. And as they're in the hospital, they're kind of going over. They're like, you know what? Like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna go for the Defense Force. And they're having good conversation. And then suddenly, Kafka looks up and he sees a flying little kaiju monster. And he goes, "What the fuck?" And then suddenly, kaiju monster goes, "All right, time to get in your tummy," and just goes freaking down his mouth. And he eats the friggin' thing. And guess what? Guess what, Bill?
he becomes a kaiju hybrid thing.
Yes, he becomes Kaiju number 8.
So fun fact, that weird insectoid kaiju thing, That thing is such a walking spoiler that if you go on like the TV tropes page for this show and you look through like the character bios, that thing has a
Mhm.
bio and half of it's blanked out like with spoiler tags because it's like, okay, this thing's pretty significant in the long run.
Yes. I mean, it kind of has to be because, like, why? Especially, like, it, like, one of the lines that it says when Kafka first looks at it is it goes, "I found you." Like, like, it specifically was like, "Okay, what does that mean?" And then
Yeah, this show has a lot of weird foreshadowing to stuff that we have not got an answer to yet.
yeah. That I love a good show like that. Cause
Speaking
guess what other show
speaking
did a lot of foreshadowing? Guess what other show did?
I don't know.
One
A lot.
Piece.
Oh. I was like, I figured you were gonna say that, but I didn't want to be predictable. But what do you know? um, yeah, but I will say, anime only people. There's definitely a lot of foreshadowing. I'm not sure manga wise. I haven't started reading it yet. So.
Yeah, there's some in manga, I will say. But they end up immediately after he becomes the kaiju, Reno is like, "What the fuck, dude?" And he's like, "I don't know." And then suddenly, old man walks by, sees him, panics, and they have to run out of the hospital because, like,
I
he's a
my favorite
kaiju
part
now.
though is like with anything Kafka does, he always makes it fucking worse before he makes it better.
Yes. Well, remember, he had just become a kaiju at this point, so he had no idea what he was doing. But they flee after destroying the hospital room. Um,
And then
they
he's like this abomination because he can't control himself.
Yeah, at first he's like, "Can't," and then I think one of my favorite scenes is they're running and Kafka's like, "Dude, I gotta pee," and and Reno's like, "You gotta hold it, man." He's like, "I can't," and then he's peeing out of his nipples. It's
Yeah,
kind
my comment. I remember my comment. We were talking on text, and I right when I got to that scene, I just commented. I happened to be talking to you at the time, and my comment was just like, "Did he just pee out of his nipples?" And you were like, "Yeah, isn't it
yeah.
great?"
And then they end up running, and then as like, because they're basically running because the defense force was called onto the hospital at that point, because they think there's a kaiju in the hospital. So they're basically running away to hide. But as they're running away, guess what? Another kaiju appears, and it happens to be the same kind of kaiju that attacked them earlier. Um, so Kafka realizes he can sense them innately now that he is a kaiju. So he ends up going to. They first end up saving a little girl and her mother who were hurt in an accident caused by the kaiju, and then he ends up defeating the kaiju with one punch.
Yeah,
One
because he is.
solid.
I'm assuming I haven't read anything further, but I have this strange suspicion that Kafka's a very special kaiju.
So he's a Dai Kaiju.
Well, I know
They
that, but
do
I think
say so.
there's something even more special.
Oh yeah, and he's well, cause it goes on later, but like he'll appear in his Kaiju form again. Well, they're actually doing the exam for to become division operators, and at one point you actually hear one of the techs in the lab go, "Oh my God, there's a fortitude level of like 9.8 or something, and it's the highest fortitude that's ever been recorded." So he's very, very strong. Like he's the strongest that they've ever seen. But after that, they end up escaping,
Well,
and
before that though, there is that really heartwarming scene where he like saves the little girl and he basically like
yeah,
he's like, I'm not a threat. Like, you're
yeah,
safe now.
I'm a good kaiju. Um, because I
Which
think the little girl ends up saying that to the
she says
defense
that
force.
to Mina, I think she says, like, what about the good kaiju?
Yeah,
Which it throws them for a loop because they're like, huh?
huh? A good kaiju. Um, but after that, they end up kind of being more motivated to join the defense force. But Reno's like, you cannot tell anyone that you're a kaiju or you will die. And Kafka's like, okay. And then his face is kaiju, and he's like, "Stop it!" It's
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
Reno going like, "Knock it off," and Kafka going like, "I don't want to."
I love how Reno is in every way the superior, like, soldier, but like he still refers to Kaiju as his master. I'm not Kafka as his master.
Yeah, their relationship is so like cute. Like I love them. Like it's
That's
like
actually the thing
dad
I like
son.
about, yeah, or like brothers, kind of.
Yeah, like big brother, little brother.
I find the thing I found really endearing about the show is the fact that like every character, there isn't anybody who's kind like innately a dick in the main cast, anyways.
Yeah.
Um, Everyone kind of comes off as like really likable, and they all kind of like each other, which is
Well, and it's also like Kafka is really kind of the glue that's holding them together. Some say the comic relief, as a
well,
certain
I
character
don't know.
will.
Everybody's a comic relief in the show. Let's
Yeah,
be
but
real.
he's like a big one, you know.
He's an in-universe comic relief for the actual people there.
Yes. But after that, they end up going to the exam. Um,
Kafka fails it. Well, before they get in, they encounter another character in the parking lot because they took her spot.
Hikaru, and of course, Kafka uses his kaiju power
Picks
to,
up the
to
fucking
move,
car. But she
and
thinks it's like some special. She thinks it's like a special suit.
suit like that she has, and then nope.
Hikaru
Which
is a very interesting character right off the bat because you're supposed to hate her at first, but then you really realize that she's actually one of the best characters in
oh, I
the show.
didn't hate her. I immediately was like, I feel like this girl is gonna have a good story. So I was excited to see what she was gonna
I
do.
found her annoying at first until I picked up real quick. I'm like, oh, she's the tsundere. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
One of a couple
Um,
tsundares, because let's face it, Mina is also a tsundere.
a little bit. Um, Yeah, and then they go through the exam arc. The physical testing is just funny because Kafka doesn't use his kaiju power, which Reno is proud of him, but he does not do good on the fitness exam.
That's my
But
favorite part is when they put on the suits because the suits are like the suits enhance. They
well,
take your innate power and then they enhance it and they
and the
scan everybody.
and the suits lead us to my favorite character in the show besides Kafka. Of
Yeah, I will say like I love the
he
line.
makes me laugh of Hoshina. So Shiro Hoshina. I don't know why, but like his name doesn't function in my brain until I read it, like see it in text, and then I can read it. For some reason, I just can't say it. I don't know why.
There's a lot of
But
very similar sounding names in this show. I will say.
that too. But Hoshida is the one who's kind of walking them through the test. And he's kind of going and he's like coaching them along as they're in their suits. He's like, "Wow, good job!" Or he's like Reno gets like a pretty average rating, and he's like, you know what? Like a lot of people just get that at time, and then they can build it up over time. Some people don't even get over this rating, and then Kafka, his
Zero.
reset 0, and Hoshina just full on fucking starts laughing at him. Like, doesn't
He
give
is
a fuck.
he's that one of those characters who comes off as like a clown whenever you see him, but then you find out he's fucking deadly.
Oh my god, yeah, which is why I freaking love him. He's great. But he's basically just like, he's like, we gotta let this guy in just for the laugh.
Yeah, his whole at first he's like his relationship with Kafka is one of like when you look at all the relationships in the series, Kafka's got a lot of complicated relationships. Like he's got his like the main crew, he's got his relationship with Mina, and then his relationship with the names are already messing me up, but
Hoshina?
with Hoshina is like the most crazy because at first like he's like this guy's a fucking clown, bring him along for the laughs,
Yep.
and then he's like he might be okay, let's give him a shot.
Yeah. And they go in and take the physical part of the exam, which they thought, so they Kafka went in and was like, "Oh, it's gonna be cleaning," and like him and Reno were like, "We got this," and then they're like, "Just kidding, it's a practical. You gotta kill some kaiju," and they're like, "Fuck," because it's not what they prepared for. So they put the suits on. Everyone gets powered up. Kikaru is like already at a super high level because she's just innately very talented, and they
You'll
go in
find
and they
out
end up
later why.
yeah, and they go in and they have to basically kill some kaiju. So Kafka can't really do shit with 0 power ranking. So him and Reno kind of just buddy up. But rather than really going for and killing them, they're kind of help assisting others. So
Yeah, Kafka's whole gimmick is like he's like the perfect example of he's weak but skilled, where
yes,
he is very good at what he's good at. He's just
yeah.
not great at fighting.
Well, and it's not even. It's just like the suits. So the suits are actually made of like kaiju materials and stuff, and it depends on who you are, but they give you more power. So the higher the level, the stronger you are. And where you're at 0, you basically you're wearing the suit, and that's it. Like there's no special abilities really to it. So it really just depends on that level. Where he's at 0, he can't really do much. So he ends up helping by like telling people, okay, you need to shoot for this part. That's where the core is, and that's how you will kill the kaiju easier. And as the exam is going on, Kikaru's kind of dominating. She's kind of killing all of them. And eventually they kill all the monsters. But psych, guess who walks in? Another kaiju, who unnamed at this point, but is similar to Kaiju number 8, where he's humanoid. He's not your normal, typical kaiju. And he's also intelligent. And what does he do? He
Brings
brings the
back
dead
all the kaiju,
yeah, he brings the dead kaiju back to life and
but
makes them
stronger.
stronger. So, and he almost like basically hurts Kikaru to a point like where she can't fight anymore. Kafka ends up going in to save her, but he has to transfer, change into Kaiju number 8 to do that. But he ends up saving the day. But it's kind of like him. So now Kikaru's in on the secret, and they're kind of, but they
My
end up
favorite line in the series. He's like, "Hey, I saved you. Please don't tell."
yeah, please. And it's very funny because he's very goofy as the kaiju. Like he's not very serious.
He's arguably goofier as the kaiju than he is as himself, which is
He's
interesting.
he's pretty goofy both ways. But the exam is over, and
I will say,
most
actually, a big piece of character development there, though, for Kikaru, that like her getting like almost killed there is like basically it's kind of like a metaphor of it's like a metaphorical way of essentially being like this. She just kind of ate her big slice of humble pie right there.
I think too, like especially when you learn more about her backstory, which it hasn't. I don't think in the anime it touched it as much
Not
as
super
it
deep.
does in the manga. But in the manga, it actually covered it a lot more. But like
I
what
will
people
say
don't
though,
know is
like
her
it.
mom was a defense force operator.
Oh yeah.
Her parents both were. Her father is still alive. Her mom is not. Her mom died in active duty. And I think too, like that scene, like knowing that now, going back to that, like she probably was just like thinking, like, oh my God, like it doesn't matter how strong you are, it can really take anything to like disappear. And she probably reminded her a lot of her mom, you know.
Well, that's the thing too, is like her character changes a lot after that scene because like at the start she's very brash, very like full of herself, like very
Yeah.
much she knows she's better and she kind of rubs it in everyone's face. After that, she's a much better team player. Like she still knows she's probably the best one there out of all the new recruits, but
Yeah.
she's not innately snotty about it anymore. Now she's very team player, like she's trying to actually save the world.
Yes. Um, no, and I really like her character development. And the next couple scenes are like they end up like selecting their class. Kafka, it doesn't seem like Kafka got selected, but he actually does end up getting introduced, but he's just on a trial basis. And he has to prove himself. So
We
they
also
kind of
get
go
this
through
great
these.
recurring gag of him saying Mina's name in when they're supposed to be in a formation and her being like push-ups now.
Yeah, not caring. And then we get some good Hoshino laughs. And it's kind of a little bit of like a training montage, a bit of them getting used to now living at the Defense Force, training, learning. Um, but then they're kind of put into their first, okay, this is your first active duty trial situation where they end up fighting Mushroom Men.
I love the whole like joke though where they all refer to Kafka as old dude.
Yes.
He's not even that old. He's like 30. He's not that old.
I think one of my favorite scenes too is when they're in the baths
Oh yeah, and he's
and
all like
then
ripped, but then
he's
he's
like
doing
sucking it in, and
yeah,
then he
he's
just like
doing the classic like guy who's like not super like fit, but he's not fat, but he's not super fit, and they're just sucking it in to look super ripped, and then he just lets it out. And it's like, oh,
the
no,
gut,
he's
the gut.
very average.
But that's what I love about him. He's an average guy. We love him.
I like a lot of the side cast too. Like there's
No,
the guy
all
with
of
the green
their
hair
class,
who's like
the
just
rich
kind
one,
of yeah,
the
the
rich
rich one who
son of the, I think it's like the, I think they make like a lot of the kaiju technology.
yeah, and he's like bro, kind of like broish with the guy who's like the ex-soldier who's basically just there to because he wanted
Yes.
something else.
Yeah. Well, you wanted to do something more. Honestly, all of the main like third division cast that you see, like they're all great. Like I love all of them.
They all have
Um,
very distinct character. Like there's the other one that's like just has like it has like this weird like competition with Reno, even though Reno doesn't care, and like they're constantly like we're rivals now, and he's like, cool,
Well,
whatever.
I think he's also going through he was like the big fish in a little pond situation where he kind of thought he was the best, and then
He
when
was the
he
one that
goes
got
into the
saved by Mina, right?
I believe so at some point. Um, they also get saved by Kaiju No.8. Well, in this upcoming battle, because they're fighting against the mushroom. Mina takes down the big mushroom,
But
badass.
also
But
before that, we get the scene where like because Kafka is kind of useless. Um,
Kafka,
that was my throat not working. Yeah, from Final Fantasy VI, Kefka laughs a lot. Son of a submariner, Kafka. He because he is like useless in a fight. He basically uses this time like he realizes like he's not going to impress anybody by doing nothing, so he has to do something.
yeah,
And he finds one of the dead kaiju, and they're struggling to take these things out. So
yeah,
he ends up basically using his skills as a cleaner
to find
to
like the core.
finds the core, but then he also points out, hey, these things have reproductive organs that'll just keep spawning more. You should probably take those out as well.
Yep. And it's
And
actually he's like calls Hoshina, and Hoshina's actually like, "You did good, Kafka," which was
it's
a
like,
really nice.
you're not just comic relief.
He's like, "You actually did something! Wow!" Because that was a pretty good scene, and it's also like this arc too. Because after that, he can sense that Kaiju No.9 has appeared again. So he goes to find him, and Kaiju No.9 is basically fighting Reno and
The blonde guy that I can't remember his name.
as pink hair.
Oh, pink.
Pink,
Yeah,
I
pink
think
hair.
it's
Right. Right.
I think it was Iharu. Uh, yeah, I think Iharu for Shir. I think Iharu. Um, they end up sticking together, but they're basically getting owned by Kaiju No.9 because Kaiju No.9 is insanely strong. But Kaiju No.9 was also basically trying to kidnap Reno to use him for experiments. But
We
Kafka
also
gets
find out
in.
with Kaiju No.9, he's a shapeshifter because he's actually hiding
Yeah,
out
because
as a
they find,
cleaning.
yeah, he was hiding. He can basically shapeshift to whoever he wants to look like. And he was
Well,
pretending to,
he steals their body by killing them.
yeah, he steals their face. Hey, which was a icky scene when you had to see it later.
Oh yeah, when he
Uh,
kidnaps Clark Kent.
yeah, kind of, yeah. What else? What was I gonna say? Nickelodeon. Oh, okay. So he ends up saving them. Kaiju No.9 flees. He almost kills him, but then he gets distracted. When the other officers the backup starts coming up, and he needs to flee. So he doesn't have time to fully kill him, but he basically almost kills Kaiju No.9.
I found Kaiju No.9 very interesting, like because his whole entire character, he's essentially so full of himself that he thinks he's invincible, but then he gets nearly destroyed by Kafka, and he's like, "What is this? I'm going to die. This isn't good." Like, oh
Yeah,
no.
he was
Like
like, "I'm
he's like he doesn't break character, but he's like shocked. He's like, "Oh no, I might actually die. What do
Well,
I
because
do?"
and I think the thing is like you got to remember is that like it's not like it's Kafka where he's a human trapped now in a kaiju's body. Like he's just a kaiju. Like that just happens to have some more human like brain functions, but in the end, still the kaiju mind. Which is also interesting. But he ends up fleeing, but as he flees, he ends up running into my boy, the vice captain, Hoshina. Love him.
He's good with
He's
swords. It's a big
and
character thing.
well, yeah. So like his family was like a clan of like swordsmen that used to be like the main way of taking down kaiju. But nowadays, like guns are more of the weapons that people use, and they don't use the swords as much. So he's not as great with the guns, but he's great with the swords. So up
And he got
close
rejected
combat,
by pretty much everybody until Mina was like, "Hey, you're pretty good there."
you're coming with me now.
Yeah.
And he ends up almost like killing Kafka. But as he's fighting them, he's like, okay, why is this kaiju not trying to kill me?
Yeah, because like Kafka is straight up. It's one of those interesting fights where like he's going almost all out. Well, actually, no, I think he does go all out at one point.
No, yeah,
But
no,
Kafka is
actually
straight
not
up
100% because he does
right.
that
Right. We
later.
see that. We see that later. But he's borderline like going like way above what he would normally do. And Kafka isn't really fighting back. He's only fighting back when he needs to because he has no other choice.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting fight because the entire time, like, he's like, why isn't he fighting back? He's like, it's playing with
Yeah.
me, isn't it?
And like he's very perplexed, but then eventually Kafka flees. They regroup back together, and they actually are throwing. This is like their first like big fight as a group, and like I mean, this is a career where people are gonna die, so they're having a party to celebrate. And at the party, Hoshina announces that because of Kafka's good work during the fight, he is now a full member of the third division, which they all celebrate and go,
Also,
yay!
very cute scene. If it's a blink or to miss it thing, but like this whole time, like Mina has like kind of a chip on her shoulder because she feels betrayed by Kafka for not going through with his promise initially.
Hmm.
You'll notice when he gets the full promotion and actually gets brought in, she's got a smile on her face, like because she actually is happy about it. Like
Yeah, and I think
it's
it wasn't the promise. I think she was just disappointed because she knew he could do it.
yeah, the fact
Like
that he gave up.
he gave given up on himself. So,
You can
which
tell she still cares a lot, but it's just
no, yeah, and they have a bunch of really good scenes together too that show that their friendship is still strong.
yeah.
Because the next big fight ends up being that Kaiju number 9 is pissed, and he's like, "I'm going to send out one of my friends."
Oh, but also,
And
yeah, we forgot to mention the scene where Kafka is like before he gets his promotion official like recognition, he's like staying up late studying, and he actually has
mm,
that conversation with Hoshino. It's
yeah,
Hoshino, right? Yeah. Who basically is like, oh yeah, by the way, you want to be Mina's side? Well, you're gonna have to go through me. And by the way, I'm like the second strongest person here, bitch.
yeah, and he's like, "Well, I guess I'm going to be stronger than you." And Hoshino's like, "Yeah, good luck with that." He's like, all right, you can try." Um,
I like
which is
Hoshino's whole Hoshino and Kafka's dynamic is really fun because there is a respect there for each other.
yeah,
Hoshino's just such a like he's such a fucking like asshole like at times
a
that he'll be like
goofball asshole.
he's
Ugh.
not an asshole, he's a jerk ass. Like
Yeah,
that's his whole like shtick is that he basically just likes to fucking rub it in their faces at times because
yeah,
it's funny,
yeah.
but
He's
he does
also
care
jacked,
deep down.
and he's jacked.
Everybody in the show, I don't think Kafka is jacked.
He's jacked under the flab. Uh,
Yeah, his real self is.
and I think like after that, like he ends up studying into the room. But as he's studying, boom, their base gets attacked by by a swarm of kaiju, and they're like, okay,
Oh yeah,
this isn't
because
normal.
Kafka's separated from them for a bit because the attack happens when he's like
When
outside
he was
heading.
studying,
Yeah,
well, he was at the base, but he just wasn't in the dorms with everyone else. He was
because he immediately radios to Hoshino and gives him all the because Mina had left at this point. She's not on
yeah,
base.
she was off on business.
But Kafka immediately he's like, I recognize these. This is they don't normally attack in groups. This is what you should do, and he basically sends that over to Hoshino, who's like, thanks,
Yeah,
appreciate it. I gotta go now.
yeah.
Gotta actually do fighting.
No, gets in there. He just has to find his gear. He has to find his gear and
No, he
stuff.
does, but Hoshino basically hangs up and he's like, yeah, I gotta actually fight now.
Well, because
Bye.
he's basically in charge while Mina's not there. And the battle ensues,
Oh, and
and
they give Kikuro her giant fuck you axe at this point.
yeah, which was pretty. It was one. So, and we didn't actually mention it, but actually a couple have already been revealed. So some of more the traditional weapons are just guns. But
But
other
there's
people
very
have specific numbered weapons
yeah,
as well.
those numbers are very important later.
Yes. Well, especially the sense of pushing Reno to keep yelling at Kafka to not reveal himself because they find out that hey, well, because it gets revealed when Hoshina just shows his weapons as well. That where do these weapons come from? Well, they're made from the remains of kaiju,
But they're like
especially
the
strong numbered kaiju. Some of them I
yeah.
don't think are always the numbered ones. Some of them are just really strong
I
ones
know
as well.
from what I read, the weapons that are specifically numbered. are
Yes.
they're made from those specific kaiju because like you notice Kafka's Kaiju number 8. Well, there
Yes.
was 7 before him, so they obviously
No,
ended up
yeah.
somewhere.
And I think so I think Mina's weapon is a numbered one. Her big ass gun. Big
Yeah,
ass gun. That is the best way to describe it. And I believe Hoshina's swords um are also numbered weapons as
and
well.
then Kikuro's big FU axe is also
Is there's Kaiju number 4 is what
yes.
hers was, or number 3. She gets a cool axe. They end up beating up all the bird kaiju, which Kafka informs them of, like, they don't usually flock in groups. There's a leader, and I think as he's talking to Hoshino is when he's like, "Yeah, I think I found the leader," because
Yeah, because
he was
it's
very
he.
easy to find. Uh, and that fight is very interesting too because the kaiju is like it gets dubbed Kaiju number 10. And it also like is almost like very like possessive of Hosh. Like he's almost becomes obsessed with Hoshina during it. Like he's
I wonder if that has something to do with the kaiju weapons because there is a connection there. But
no, yeah,
I
it
might be
will.
overthinking that.
No, it's no, it. Yeah, I know it's coming. So but like they do have it's a very like he really is the kaiju is very much enjoying his fight with Hoshina. And Hoshina's really doing well for I mean doing it one on one with not using like the guns, which are the main ones. But what happens that kind of changes the turns of the fight is that the kaiju becomes big
Yeah, he
when
has a
he's
second
vulnerable.
form.
No, basically he was vulnerable, so he became larger. And guess what? That's not Hoshina's specialty, but he's still doing a really good job keeping it together. Kafka ends up running over at one point to try and step in and almost transforms, but then Mina comes in, makes it back in time, and they end up defeating Kaiju number 10. Just kidding. Not really. It's more of a draw situation where his body is exploded, but his head is still there. And in his final like moments, like he's still kind of alive, kind of dying, he ends up doing a call to all the bird creatures, all the like bird kaiju, and they end up basically forming a giant bomb in the sky.
For fans of Dragon Ball, he pulls a cell essentially.
Yeah, like a basically there's nothing they can do. And this is like the moment where I actually thought Kafka. I was either thinking that Kafka wasn't going to reveal himself this season at all, or he would have revealed himself in the mushroom fight. So I was thinking that it wasn't going to happen. But then when I saw this, I was like, oh yeah,
Well,
he's
the
revealing himself.
the episode titles kind of give it away. I
Well,
will
yeah.
say.
Before I saw that though,
So for me, the thing was I stopped right before that. So when I went to Crunchyroll to
uh
get back, the episode title is like "Truth Revealed," and I was like, "Oh, okay,
See,
this is
like
happening,
I
I
was
guess."
watching it very consecutively, so I was kind of thinking, I'm like, maybe they won't reveal it yet. Maybe it's going to be later on. But then, nope, got revealed. He has to go in and save the day.
I'm actually
Um,
amazed how early in the story
I
it actually
yeah,
happens.
I was kind of thinking that too. But in terms of where the story is going, it actually makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Um, with just how the plot is working as I've read the manga. So he ends up revealing himself, but he does defeat, basically pushes the bomb further up into the sky and atmosphere so that it doesn't basically destroy the whole base and kill everyone. It still causes a lot of damage, but he ends up having to reveal himself, gets arrested, and is basically
He
taken
gets
into
arrested by Mina in particular, which is very much a gut punch to him.
yeah, and to her. I mean, to
Yeah,
all of them. It's a gut punch, and Reno as well, because I mean,
well,
Reno kind of reveals he already knew.
there is a bit of a fake out here, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, so he ends up getting locked out, and he ends up getting like brought to like the base, like the Defense Force base of operations headquarters.
True,
But
but
as
before
he's
that,
leaving,
there's a scene where he gets put in the. Or are you going there with the van?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So as he's leaving, they're loading him into a van, um, but and he ends up talking with Mina for a bit,
And
and she
Mina
says that
basically flat out admits that, oh yeah, by the way, we all believe you, and we none of
yeah,
us want to see you die, so we're gonna do everything we can to help you.
Yeah, and as they leave, the whole third division salutes him.
I love
And
that line with the guy who's like, he's like saluting a kaiju, and they're like, no, 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 our superior officer's in there. What are you thinking? He's like, oh, right, right.
yeah, and Hoshina, of course, it's Hoshina saying this, so it's very like snarky, like jerk ass kind of way. But
I
he ends
like the
up,
reveal though, where it's kind of like you find out too that Hoshino was one of the biggest like proponents of him not basically saving him.
yeah. Um, well, and I think too, it was like because he knew that I mean Kafka, why would, if Kafka was a bad person, why would he be helping them so much and giving them as much and giving it his all, I think deep down they knew. But then he ends up going to headquarters. He ends up having to ends up being basically told he has to fight. He has to fight Kikaru's father, who is the leader of the whole. He's like the Defense Force executive president, director general. That's what his title is.
He's the big man on top, essentially.
Yes, he's the big man, the Shingamiya man, and he's testing Kafka. He wants to see if he really is as bad as they're saying, or if he's still human deep down. And at one point during the fight, he does actually lose control, and the
which
kaiju takes over.
which I believe is revealed. It's because of the weapon that the director is using is Kaiju number 2, and for some reason that one just sets off the little larval thing inside of
Well,
him.
and it's also like he's being pushed to his edge right now. I mean, like mentally, the past few days, like of the wondering, is he gonna die? It also just pushed him mentally over the edge where he lost all his control on it. And with that added push of Kaiju number 2 fighting, he just lost it. And it also shows like just how strong Kaiju number 8 is.
Yeah, like because there's
Um,
a great scene before that where Hikaru is like pleading with her father, and their relationship is very complicated. I'm sure we'll
yeah.
get more of it in the future.
I've read some of it. Well, knowing more about her mother too, it's
Yeah, it makes
very
sense. But the whole time like the fight's going on and she's like basically going through this terror that she's gonna lose her other parent to a kaiju, and she's like basically pleading that she knows Kafka's a good person because by this point they have a they understand each other now and they don't hate each
yeah,
other anymore. I mean, they never
yeah,
really did, but it's besides the point.
yeah,
Um, but the whole time, like, it becomes very apparent Kafka's not the Kaiju number 8 at this point because Kafka's kind of trapped in his own head. Isn't
yeah,
actually trying to kill the director; it's trying to kill the weapon.
yeah. Um, and the fight is, and eventually Kafka does get control back.
And he stabs
Um,
himself rather
yeah,
than the director, which is that was a very like impactful scene because I was like, holy shit.
yeah. But it also was impactful to the director because he's like, okay, like this, like he understands that, like, yes, he is a kaiju now, but he's still a person, and he's still is gonna follow his own ideals.
What's
Um,
interesting too is there's another scene that's happening during this fight that it's implied. I think it happens a little bit before, but it's the scene where they're all interviewing Mina, and they basically go out of their way to say, "Yeah, you being here really doesn't mean shit, and we've basically made up our mind, but we're gonna let you talk regardless."
yeah, which
Um,
fuck them. They don't even let her sit.
I know that's they're like, "Yeah,
No
there's no chair,
food
there's no
or
chair
no
for
chair
you."
for you. I'm like, you suck. Uh,
That's military for you, though.
yeah. But the verdict comes out, and Kafka gets to live. But you are introduced to the first division
Oh, Gen was his
captain.
name.
Yes, Genarmi, which his introduction does not.
Yeah,
His character is great. I freaking
I've seen the list of major characters and he's always there. So I was like, ah, he's going to be important later.
Oh yeah, well he's the first division character, and this is kind of spoilers, but he does also have a kaiju weapon. His is actual retinal implants.
Ah,
He has kaiju eyes, which is pretty fucking cool. He's also really strong, but his personality kind of sucks. So he's
yeah,
never as popular as the third division, and he's butthurt about it.
yeah.
It's great.
Well,
You
because
gotta,
they have Mina. She's on posters.
yeah, and he's just like, "What the hell? Why am I not that popular?" And people like, "Your
I
attitude kind
kind
of
of
sucks."
it's kind of a subtle thing, but there is actually a little innate like tragedy behind Mina's character, like that you only get if you really know military like standards and stuff.
Mm,
She's actually like one thing that you notice right away is like she doesn't really do a lot of fighting when she's like not when it's not like a major fight. And that's because
mhm.
she has gotten risen so high in the military ranks that she's basically essentially been kicked upstairs,
Yeah,
and she's more of a figurehead than an actual like asset these days.
yeah,
And you can tell that kind of bothers her a little bit.
yeah. She like wants to be more involved, but Kafka ends up giving the okay to live, and that they're gonna use him as a weapon. Well, because like the leaders are like arguing of like we should just kill him and use him as a weapon, but instead like Sheena Shinamiya, um, the president, I think they call him director, Shinamiya, ends up saying, "No, we don't know what's like times are strange. We're getting stronger and stronger kaiju as it is. This guy is stronger, the strongest kaiju there is currently. And he is human, and we can use him on our side. He's going to be a weapon. We're not going to kill him. And he gets to live, but he actually ends up getting placed in the first division. So
Yeah, because the
rather
third
than
division kind of got annihilated.
yeah, so they all kind of get displaced, but he gets specifically put with the first division to kind of keep an eye on him as well. And he's kind of in a probation phase, and it ends off there. But it does actually end with a scene of all of his friends end up finding out that he's going to be okay and he doesn't have to die, which is yay.
The very subtle, blink it or miss it blush from Mina when she finds out he's going to make it is something
Yeah,
I noticed right away. Because
yeah.
this show is very much, there's not a ton of romance going on here.
Mm.
From what I can tell, the only real implied romance is Kafka and Mina, but that's more of a childhood friend romance thing. So,
And I don't think it's going to be a big part of the show, in all
no,
honesty.
yeah, we don't know yet. It's one of the, it's probably going to be a thing, but it's probably not going to be a major thing.
Never know though. It might not be.
I don't know.
I don't really see that much it leaning towards the romance. Because also like you can. I also think it's like you can take it as romance, but you don't have to. I think it's gonna kind of be like one of that of like it. You can bring it your own way. I didn't particularly see it as romance, in all honesty. In my, I thought it was more of just like happy childhood friend. Like so, personally, from my viewpoint, I didn't really see romance. I just didn't. I just saw them more as just childhood friends. Um, but we'll kind of see how it goes. But I think they're kind of going to leave it. It's more about the story. I feel like it's going to kind of tend to be on that One Piece line of like where it's not really centered around couples or a love interest. It's
No, I
more
don't think
about
it's
just
going to be a major thing. I just think it's something that they
yeah.
explicitly go farther than most shows would in certain aspects.
I didn't really see it.
I
I
don't know.
didn't really see it.
I
So,
watch
but
shows
well,
differently. So
yeah, I wasn't really looking for it though. So we'll just see what happens. But and then it leaves you with like you're like, damn it, that's it, and you want to watch more and you can't.
well, don't worry, it has a season 2 already confirmed.
I know. When is that gonna actually? I need to know.
Sometime next year.
I still haven't got season 4 of Welcome to Demon School Aruma.
I haven't got season 4 of Kaguya-sama. So,
Um, 2025. Okay.
oh, yeah, so sometime next year.
Yeah. So, what did you think? I mean, you clearly enjoyed it. So,
It was good. I want to know what happens next. Um, Not sure if it's top 25 yet, but we'll see how things go when we revisit that next year.
oh, this is definitely gonna be in my top 25. Might be in my top 10. I really
True.
freaking love this show. It's
There's
like one of
just
my favorites.
there's still a lot of time for other shows to come out by then, so we'll have to wait and see. But I gave it a 8, I believe, on Mal and Annie list. I enjoyed it. It was definitely one of those. Excuse me. It was definitely one of those shows where you once you start watching it, you just kind of you have to see how it ends. Like it's very much a you're in for the long run kind of shows.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, no, I enjoyed it.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
A lot more comedic than I was expecting. That's still the most interesting part about it, honestly. It's borderline a comedy at times.
Yes, and that's why I love it. I
Even
love
the
it.
even the main villain is humorous at times, which is especially considering how evil he's supposed to be.
Mm. Well, it's interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see because, like, one of the things it actually leaves off with too is that you see, like, he ends up killing Clark Kent, taking his
Yeah,
face, but also like basically killing his family too. He ends up going back to his home and killing his family, but it also reveals that like he made Kaiju number 10,
mm.
and he's making more. So there's more. There's going to be more really strong kaiju coming out, not just your average ones. So things are going to
I
have to change.
I'm interested though too because now Kafka doesn't have to hide anymore. So
Yeah.
I'm interested
Yeah.
in
Well, it's
what's
going to be
gonna.
that dynamic of probably people having to accept him too, because there's definitely, I mean, in that room, yes, Shinomina declared it as he's going to live, but he was one of very few who wanted that. So it's going to be having to prove people wrong almost. I think it's going to be a bit of that.
Yeah,
But also, I bet there's probably going to be some sort of like difficulty with him, after, because he must feel some sort of guilt, like he lost control and it felt like he was going to kill Kikuru's father. So I'm
yeah.
sure there's going to be some issues that he's going to have to, overpower to get through that as well.
Well, especially because it's implied. Like, I'm interested if like he's gonna have similar issues with, say, like the other kaiju weapons. Because two, for some reason, two in particular set him off, which
Yeah.
leads me to wonder like what happens to the other ones. Like, he didn't have the same reaction with a Hoshino's weapon. I
Yeah.
noticed. So
Yeah. We'll just have to see. But
yeah. So this was definitely the most drastically different of anime swaps we've done.
yeah.
Probably. Well, I don't know. Azumanga Daioh and Shield Hero was pretty different too, but
Yeah.
that's
And then
that's
that
it.
one like sucks looking back on because we were both so hyped for Shield Hero and it just sucks
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Ironic. Um, but yeah, everybody, once again, thanks for joining us on the Gaming Collecting Podcast. The Gaming Collecting Podcast can be found on all your major podcasting platforms, particularly Apple Podcast and Spotify. Also, be sure to check us out over on the Superpod Network. That is superpodnetwork.com. It's an awesome site where you can find a whole bunch of other podcasts, videos, blogs. We're currently in the middle of doing a Spooktober, doing a bunch of horror
Poop
theme,
toe,
spoopy season.
poopy
Um,
season.
Close
I don't
enough.
see Miss Dingles up there. Can
Yeah,
we get a picture of Miss Dingles? Can I write an article on Miss Dingles?
sure, why not? Make a
Yay!
game related and it'll work. Um,
Miss Dingles. The Dingle game. Spot what's hanging to her butthole.
that being said, you can also check out a bunch of shows like Super Pod Saga, Super Ghost Radio, Retro Rehab, which I believe is part of Super Pod Saga now. Tommy's Video Game Ride Along, A Novel Console, Bar Silence, Fine Time, The Elder Trolls Gaming Podcast, Remember 64,
Ew.
Gaming Together,
I hate the
Friday Night Game.
N64.
Shut up, Dave. Show's awesome. Gaming
I'm
Together,
kidding. I'm kidding.
Friday Night Gamecast, our three shows, Gaming Collecting,
Ew.
3DO
Ew.
Experience, Geek
Ew.
Addicts, and the newest show on the network, The Retro Wildlands.
Woo!
But anyways, guys, once again, thank you for joining us. We will see you all later.
Bill, watch Attack on Titan. You promised. Don't be a liar.
Promises are meant to be broken.